Hello friends, good morning. I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 16th of September and as promised by me, I will be covering the India's new parliament. We're going to cover this one topic today. This topic in itself is important not only from the mains point of view but prelims point of view also. UPSC can ask factual questions from this particular topic. And just to give it a holistic coverage, I've also compared it with the older parliament. India's new parliament, we're going to have this special session which is going to start from September 18th in this new parliament building. We are after 75 years of independence, we're going to shift to this new parliament. The older parliament obviously was constructed by the Britishers. It had European designs. According to the architects, the circular shape of the old parliament was inspired from the Colosseum, Rome. Whereas the new parliament has Indian elements. It is inspired from the Indian history. So there are many parliamentarians, especially from the ruling party, who are advocating that this new parliament is testament to the fact that we have given up on colonial legacy completely. The older parliament had limited seating. The number of seats in the parliament had been freezed till 2026 in 2002. But it is expected that with the growing population after 2026 or in 2026, the number of seats in the parliament will increase. So in order to accommodate more number of MPs, we need more seats. In the new parliament, there are more seats. The older parliament, when it was constructed, Delhi was in zone 2, seismic zone 2. But now, Delhi is in seismic zone 4. The older parliament building was constructed according to those norms. Now, the parliament building is constructed according to these norms of seismic zone 4. I can say that it is comparatively more safer. The new parliament building is also a platinum star rated building in terms of energy conservation. It is environment friendly. These kind of things were not there in the older parliament. So these are the difference, these are the, I would say, reasons why we wanted to shift to a new parliament. And hence, we are beginning this first session in September 2023 in the new parliament building. Now, this is how the new parliament building will look like. You can see it is kind of this shaped, one side, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hexagonal shape. It is kind of not circular. The older one was a circular building, and it is going to house both the Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, and a hall for a joint session will also be there separately. As in the older building, the joint session was very difficult. In the 75th year of independence, in May, Prime Minister Modi inaugurated the new parliament building and installed the Senegal. Senegal is a scepter, kind of, an object which was used by the Cholas back then. And as a symbol, it was, used by Jawaharlal Nehru when we got independence. And now the Senegal is being installed over here. Senegal actually symbolizes transfer of power. So when I say that it was used by Jawaharlal Nehru, the Britishers, when they were transferring power to India, they did this symbolically by handing over the Senegal to Jawaharlal Nehru. The Senegal was placed in a museum after that, somewhere in Allahabad. But now, the Senegal in the new parliament is going to be placed right next to the speaker. And whenever a new parliament or a new government will be there in the parliament, as a symbol, Senegal will be handed over to that particular government. We are going to cover in detail about the Senegal as well in our later half of this particular session. But anyways, if I look at this new parliament building, total area 64,500 square meters, seating capacity more than 1200 MPs now can be seated, 970 crore, estimated completion 2022. It was almost complete, inaugurated in May 2023. It is part of Central Vista redevelopment program. Here also we have written that it is part of Central Vista program. What is this Central Vista? We'll have to see Abhi. Who has constructed the new parliament? Tata Projects Limited has won the bid for construction and constructed it. A grand constitution hall will be there, launch for MPs, library, multiple committee rooms, dining areas, ample parking spaces. These are going to be kind of new features for the new parliament, but UPSC is not going to ask any one of these probably. Now, what is the Central Vista project? You should know this. From here, a question can be posed. Actually, it is a grand project of, I would say, building government infrastructure from India Gate to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. That entire region is going to be built. Just hold on. You see this. This is India Gate. This is the Rashtrapati Bhavan, existing Rashtrapati Bhavan. And this entire has to be, constructed. And this is called as the Central Vista project. So we look into the details of Central Vista project. Avenue is part of the larger Central Vista project. Avenue means this particular new parliament building, where new triangular parliament building along with the central secretariat and several other government offices are being rebuilt. Now, in the ancient times means when the Britishers were here, it was called Kingsway during British rule. It was built as a ceremonial boulevard by Edwin Lutyens and Herbert Baker, the architects of New Delhi, running from Rashtrapati Bhavan on Raisina Hill through Vijay Chowk and India Gate. The avenue is lined on both sides by huge lawns, canals and rows of trees. Now in this, from Rashtrapati Bhavan till India Gate, this entire redevelopment project is called as Central Vista program or Central Vista project. It has to be beautified. Then, new buildings will be there, new ministries will be there. Like, you see this building, this is the Raksha Bhavan, estimated to be or expected to be, means the Ministry of Defense. Many other ministries will be there, the Central Secretariat will be there. These all are going to be government offices. Okay. And here is the new parliament building which we are discussing. It is part of the Central Vista project. It is the existing Rashtrapati Bhavan, but Rashtrapati Bhavan is actually the president's new home. President is going to get a new home. This and the prime minister is going to get a new home. These two are going to be the homes of, I would say the new homes of prime ministers and presidents. It is also part of the Central Vista project. Take care. This is going to be PMO, Prime Minister's Office, new building for that. Now during the Britishers, this path from India Gate till Rashtrapati Bhavan was called as Kingsway. Then after that, after the Britishers left, it was called as Rajpath. Now it has been renamed to Kartavya Path. So this has been also a change from Kingsway to Rajpath to now Kartavya Path. And on the sidelines of this Kartavya Path are the ministries, government offices, Central Secretariat, who have to do their Kartavya in order to, run the country efficiently. Now the old Parliament building. The old Parliament building's construction took 6 years. It started in 1921 and ended in 1927. So we need to draw parallels with the old Parliament building because a factual question from here also can be asked. In 1919, the plan for construction of Parliament was decided to have a council house comprising of 3, I would say, chambers. First was Legislative Assembly Chamber, which later became Lok Sabha. Second is Council of States, which later became Rajya Sabha. And third was Chamber of Princes, which later became the Library Hall of the Parliament. So, constructed by the Britishers, 1921 started, completed 1927. Obviously, inauguration in 1927 happened. 1919, Lutyens and Baker settled on a circular shape for the parliament. Now, when I talk about this architecture, the circular shape was inspired from Roman architecture, Rome, which is in Europe. So we can say that the old parliament building is inspired from the European architecture. They wanted to highlight or showcase European might through this European architecture, because this building was considered to be as a corridor of power. And a corridor of power, if it is inspired from European architecture, this clearly symbolizes European control over the country. But there are many experts who later on claimed, obviously those experts were Indians, that this circular shape of the old parliament building now was inspired from the Chaussat Yogini temple. Circular shape of the Chaussat Yogini temple, which is in Madhya Pradesh, Morena. And however, there is no historical evidence to back this claim. It is just kind of ego satisfaction. They wanted to satisfy their ego. Maybe that is why this was highlighted by them. But actually, the architects of, I would say, Delhi at that time, and when I say architects of Delhi, they also were the architects of this grand building, the old parliament. They were Europeans, Britishers, and they wanted to highlight European might over here in India through this architecture. Then Indian elements such as jalis and chhatris, these were also used in the old parliament building. But yes, the prominent was the design, that is the circular shape which we saw. Then next is the goal of architecture. The goal of architecture was to project the strength of British imperialism and rule over India. Hence both the architects agreed to highlight the superiority of European classicism upon which Indian traditions has to be based. Now I said that there were Indian elements like jalis and chhatris. These were not so highlighted. These were there, embedded, subdued. But major highlight was this grand long pillars which is there in European architecture. The circular shape which got inspired from the Colosseum of Rome. That was the major highlights of the old parliament building. And that actually highlighted or projected the strength of the British here in India. Then material which was used for constructing the old parliament building, 44 cream sandstone pillars, each measuring 27 feet. These are there, and these big pillars are used in European architecture. If you go to places like Connaught Place in Delhi, this is also European architecture. European architecture is one of the, I would say, key characteristics is long pillars. Okay. Now, foundation and inauguration. The foundation stone laid in 1921 was done by Duke of Connaught. In 1927, it had to be inaugurated since it was complete. The then Governor General of India, Lord Irwin, inaugurated it. Now, this kind of questions can be asked in prelims. Sir Bhupendra Nath Mitra, a member of Governor General's Executive Council and in charge of Department of Industries and Labour, invited Viceroy to inaugurate the building. Governor General's Executive Council was or can be equated to the present day cabinet. Okay, Governor General as the Prime Minister and the members of Executive Council as ministers. So Bhupendra Nath Mitra, he was kind of a minister if we equate him to today's scenario. He invited the Viceroy to inaugurate. So Lord Irwin inaugurated it. Now questions might be popping up. Now what will happen to the old parliament building? Is it going to be demolished? No, it is not going to be demolished. It is going to be converted into a museum of democracy. So it will be kind of open to all public as a museum. You, me, anyone can go there, visit there and see this museum of democracy. India being the largest democracy will showcase its democratic might or democratic prowess or democratic achievements in this particular place. The parliament was also attacked by terrorists way back in 2001, and there were security lapses at that time. in the Parliament building. All these have been taken care of, all these fine detailing have been taken care of in the new Parliament building. The new Parliament building, how does it look like, or what are the features? Now, the project started in 2019. The central government announced the redevelopment project to give a new identity to the power corridor of India. And the project was obviously Central Vista Redevelopment Project. We've seen about what Central Vista is. Now, the plan includes constructing of a new parliament, which we saw, which was there in one corner of the Central Vista program. Prime Ministers and Vice Presidents' residences, we saw it, along with 10 building blocks that will accommodate all government ministries and departments. So, alongside the Kartavya Path, we saw building blocks where ministries and departments will be there. The new PMO will also be there, part of Central Vista project. So, that is going to be a corridor of power. The Kartavya Path, both sides, you have ministries, you have government offices, central government offices, all these will be there. Now, who is, which ministry is in charge for developing this Central Vista project? It is actually Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. The plan aims to change the face of Lutyens Delhi. Lutyens Delhi shows off India's iconic buildings such as South and North blocks of Central Secretariat, Parliament House and Rashtrapati Bhavan. All these are going to be there in the new Central Vista project. What was the need for the new building? This particular question actually can be important for you from mains point of view particularly. Now, the current building was 96 years old and it posed structural and safety concerns. Obviously, when buildings get old, they do get weaker with time. So, there were these kind of concerns. In 1927, now it is 2023, I would say. So, that is kind of a concern. Seating space for MPs. The present building was never designed to accommodate a bicameral legislature for a full-fledged democracy, because 1927, when the Britishers built, they had no plans of exiting India. They said that, or they believed that, this is going to be like this only. And they never thought that, a full-fledged democratic country will be run from these particular houses. So it was never designed such a way. The number of Lok Sabha seats is likely to increase significantly from the current 545 after 2026, when the freeze on the total number of seats left. Now we need to understand this. When we became independent, there was a rough ratio that per 10 lakh people, there is an MP. Means that person is a representative of 10 lakh people. Population kept on increasing. Initially, this number of seats, number of representatives also increased. But the central government thought that, if we go on increasing the number of seats in the parliament, then this can act like a motivating factor to the people to go on increasing population. We should freeze this. And can be a possibility that people may come to know that we are underrepresented. So the seats in the parliament started getting freezed from 1970s onwards. In 2002, we passed a constitutional amendment, latest, to freeze the seats till 2026. So technically speaking, the seats in the parliament has been frozen from 1970s till 2026, but now is the time to increase the number of seats. Because the population has exponentially grown, there is a population boom, and people feel that they are underrepresented. So number of MPs, they need to increase. But the old parliament building did not have that capacity to increase the number of seats in a house. Hence, there are more seats in this new parliament building. How many seats are there in each house? We'll see again. The central hall has seating capacity only for 440 persons. In the older, parliament. Now, a joint session was not, possible, or a joint session, if it was there, then it could not accommodate all the MPs of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Joint session is a session of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So that would have been a problem. Then distressed infrastructure. With time we installed CCTV cameras, other firefighting equipments. Actually, safety concerns are there, especially after the 2001 attack. So all these later installations have made the building, I would say, more disturbed, and there are problems which has led to seepage of water in several places in the old Parliament building. Now just imagine the place where laws are made in the world's biggest democracy. The building is like this. But these were also the requirements with time. So it was decided to change this. Fire safety is a major concern at the building. So these 2 points are related to distressed infrastructure. Then obsolete communication structures. Communication infrastructure and technology is antiquated in the existing Parliament, and the acoustics of all the halls need improvement. So this is basically the way of mode of communication for the parliamentarians when they are sitting, when they are speaking. So that has to be in line with the present day world. Then safety concerns. The older Parliament building, when it was constructed, Delhi was in seismic zone 2. Now Delhi is in seismic zone 4. Means it is in a more dangerous zone, more prone to earthquakes. So the new building is constructed accommodating the demands of seismic zone 4. The older Parliament building was constructed to accommodate the demands of seismic zone 2. So if now an earthquake happens in Delhi, so there could be chances that there would be damage to the older Parliament building, and hence safety concerns were there. Now what it will look like. Lok Sabha, current seating capacity actually 552, but 545 seats are there. So 552 seats in total are there in that old Lok Sabha, but the new Lok Sabha is expected to have 888 seats. Number of seats increased. Rajya Sabha, current seating capacity 245, proposed 384. So 888, 384, more than 1200 it is. Okay. Each floor to get ministers' offices and committee rooms. First floor to have dining facilities, Constitution Hall will be there. Then on the top, the national symbol is the national emblem is inscribed, and it is a lion capital. And last year Prime Minister inaugurated it. There was a controversy by the opposition that the faces of these lions, they seem to be more fierce. They should be a bit subtle. But I don't know. Controversies are created like this only. Now coming to this symbol, there was this iconic moment when Prime Minister Modi, along with the Speaker of Lok Sabha, they were installing that symbol near to the place of Lok Sabha when this new Parliament building got inaugurated. Symbol is kind of a scepter, an object which looks like this. It is a long, I would say, stick kind of after that. And it symbolizes transfer of power. So during the Chola period, the high priest used to hand over this symbol to that person who is going to ascend the throne. So transfer of power. And this symbol actually symbolized righteousness, that we are transferring power to you. We expect you to rule in a righteous and justiciable way. This was, I would say, the symbolic meaning of symbol. Symbol, on the top of symbol is the Nandi bull, symbolizing justice and strength. During the Chola era, symbol was considered as sacred symbol of authority. It embodied the Chola king's might, legitimacy and control over their reign. This symbol was proposed by Rajaji C. Rajagopalachari, because he is from south of India, that the Britishers, since they are transferring power to Indians, this should be used, symbol should be used as a symbol of that, and hence Lord Mountbatten handed over the symbol to Jawaharlal Nehru. So it is written that thanks to the efforts of Rajaji, the symbol symbolized the transfer of power from British to Indian control in 1947. It was designed by a jeweler in Madras. The symbol was ceremonially handed over by Lord Mountbatten to Nehru to mark India's independence. The symbol post that was kept in a museum somewhere in Allahabad, which actually reduced its significance. It was never used or seldom used after that. But now it is expected to use or get into use whenever things will be there, whenever a government change will be there or new government will be formed. Now, it was used on August 14, 1947 by the then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru when the transfer of power took place from the British. It was kept in a museum in Allahabad post that. The word symbol is derived from Tamil word semai, meaning righteousness. It is a civilizational practice from the Chola kingdom, which we already discussed. And Chola kingdom ruled basically in the southern part of India. Symbolicism attached with this is a high priest presents a scepter to a newly crowned king as a symbolic gesture of power transition. Symbol, it is known as, it is expected to impart a just and impartial rule. C. Rajagopalachari used it during the British transfer of power to India. It is a significant symbol of India's freedom from the British rule. It was crafted by a renowned jeweler in Madras, Vummidi Bangaru Chetty. This impressive scepter measures 5 feet in length. Actually, it is 5 feet in length. 5 feet ho gaya, means from the ground till here. So, Nandi bull at the top representing the concept of justice on that. So, this is going to be there installed just next to the speaker. Probably whenever a new Lok Sabha is formed, and when a new Lok Sabha is formed, the speaker is elected from amongst the members. When the speaker gets elected, he may transfer this to the new prime minister. Or I would say, if the older prime minister continues to be in power, then again it will be symbolically presented to the old prime minister only. So this is actually the significance of symbol. This is how it is symbolically presented. And this is it from today's session with respect to the new parliament, the symbol. Questions factually can be asked from here because it was all factual, nothing conceptual today. But as aspirants, we should know these details, specifically why we need to shift to a new parliament building. So, signing off for today. I will be meeting you with some more news, with some more information in tomorrow's session. Till then, keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Jai Hind, take care.